The men's parallel bars, the women's vault, the next events to take place. In the women's vault, it could be something verging on a coronation for a couple of gymnasts who are very close to mathematical certainty and the Olympiad itself. When it comes to the men's parallel bars, we've got ourselves a blockbuster as two superb performers on this piece go head to head. Let's have a look at the vault finalists. The veteran Macarena Pinto of Chile, the 35-year-old, three-time South American Games medalist. Chimène Lemaitre of the Netherlands, senior international debutant. Congratulations to her on this special occasion. Deepa Karmakar of India, the 30-year-old who was fourth at the Olympic Games in Rio in 2016. Natalia Escalera of Mexico, who was fifth in Cottbus at the most recent World Cup, bronze medalist at the Pan American Games. Jasha Kiselev of Slovenia, European Championship finalist a few years ago, and Mediterranean Games medalist. Valentina Georgieva, 17, from Bulgaria, top qualifier, and the silver medalist at the first two World Cups. There's the champion from the first two World Cups, An Chang-ok of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And we also have an exciting gymnast from Panama, Carla Navas, the sixth best in qualification, but she won a bronze medal in Cottbus. That is not Stephen Nedorozic of the USA, because those were the pommel horse qualifiers they were starting to bring up there. So we've had Matsumi Kazuki of Japan, followed by Ilya Kovtun of Ukraine, second best in qualification. Mohamed Afifi of Egypt, lovely gymnast on this piece, third best qualifier. Angel Barajas of Colombia, junior world champion on the parallel bars. And there is Zhou Jingyuan, the reigning champion of the world and the top qualifier. Harald Vibia of Norway, the reigning national champion. First ever World Cup final for him, congratulations. Oleg Vernyayev of Ukraine, the Olympic champion from 2016. And Josimar Calvo of Colombia, winner of 35 gold medals across a range of Pan-American and South American competitions. Golly, what a parallel bars final it's going to be. We've got the last two Olympic champions there. We've got Ilya Kovtun, the man of the moment when it comes to World Cup competition. Well, the man of many, many, many moments when it comes to World Cup competition. Mr. Consistency at World Cups. The vault finalists at the Baku World Cup. Top performer in qualification, Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria. Silver medalist in Cairo and Cottbus. She'll go sixth in the order. Right after her, the winner of both of those titles in Cairo and Cottbus, An Chang-ok of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, who was the second best in qualifying this time. The parallel bars finalists and the top two in qualification. Zhou Jingyuan of the People's Republic of China, who will go fifth, and Ilya Kovtun of Ukraine, who will go second. Kovtun 5/10 behind the 15.766 posted by Zhou Jingyuan. Kovtun with higher difficulty, Zhou with higher execution. But Zhou with higher execution is one of the phrases that we use most commonly in the world of gymnastics, because he is absolutely delightful on the parallel bars. Now over to this women's vault competition. And how interesting it will be to see what Georgieva and Anne produce, because they're looking like runaway leaders for those 2 places. Just to restate it, 2 spots available in each pathway for the Olympiad. It almost works with these World Cup events to think of them not as individual finals so much, although we celebrate gold, silver and bronze each week, but to think of the apparatus itself as a pathway to Paris over 4 events. And that's where maybe a little linguistic idiosyncrasy comes into play, because if you're watching from the United States of America, I know that event there is a very common term to use to describe the apparatus itself. But just to be clear, I mean the events in terms of Cairo, Cottbus, Baku and Doha. And wherever you're watching from, welcome. It really is great to have your company. I know that for some of you this is an unsociable time of day to be watching. Caspian Sea time is quite early on in the day for many watching in the English-speaking world. So however you're propping yourself up, whether it's with coffee or a good sturdy breakfast, well done to you for being part of it. And if you're watching it on replay, well, you did your best. Try not to fall asleep. We see the vault final ready to begin. Warm-ups just completed. Natalia Escalera has performed her last vault. Last warm-up vault, I should say. And it will be an absolute veteran with a great story to perform first. The first time that this gymnast got onto a World Cup podium was almost 15 years ago in 2010. She has 5 medals at this level. The Chilean Macarena Pinto, 35, from Providencia in Santiago. And she's had great results in her home city over the years, including 3 South American Games medals and 3 South American Championship medals, all in Santiago. She's been on the vault podium at continental level. She's a qualified teacher who runs her own gymnastics club in Santiago. First vaults from Macarena Pinto of Chile. Likes to open her campaigns with the layouts at Tsukahara full. Macarena Pinto started her gymnastics training at a club called Palestino in Santiago. Very well-known multi-sports club, and it takes its name from the fact it was set up by Palestinian immigrants to Santiago. It was a massive settlement of Palestinians in the mid to late 1800s in South America, particularly in Chile. They travelled, believe it or not, by traversing the Andes Mountains, and I believe they used mule convoys to get their belongings to Santiago, to Chile. It was an absolutely brutal journey, and the Palestino Sporting Club is a great reminder of Santiago and Chile's legacy of being a home to Palestinians over the years. .033 for the first vault from Macarena Pinto, a jump of 3/10 from qualification. So a very good start for her. Now this is her more difficult vault. And that she was not quite as tidy from an execution standpoint with, but it's likely to be, I would say, an improvement across the board from qualification for Macarena Pinto. We'll come back to that in a moment as we go to the men's parallel bars next. Matsumi Kazuki, 8th best in qualification, 26 this gymnast from Osaka in the western part of Honshu. Last time we saw him was at the Baku World Cup last year. Has a nice fluency on this piece when it works well. The Japanese team already has a place secured for Paris 2024, so this is not a qualification event for Matsumi Kazuki. But he's producing some very crisp looking gymnastics here. Very slightly over eggs that handstand, but he shows composure to rescue it well. Oh, that's a delight of a dismount. Very nice. Very nice. So, 12.933 the average. The second vault also an improvement from, or rather the same, I should say, as qualification. That was for her handspring tucked 1.5 twist. Pinto up overall. Now we go to a debutant, almost 20 years younger than the previous gymnast, Germaine Lemaitre of the Netherlands. And she was the all-around bronze medalist at the Junior National Championships last year. She's from Haarlem, close to the coast. And we wish her very fine fortune on this occasion of her debut at full international level. The full twisting Yurchenko to begin. Just slightly disturbed on the landing with a big back step, but she gets through it with reasonable cleanliness. She must have looked around at many of the gymnasts competing, not just in this final, but across the board here in Baku, and thought, okay, I really am here now. This is serious. This is full international level, and it's a big one. And it's always a major milestone for any athlete when they get into that first final at World Cup level. 13.166. That's exactly as she produced in qualification. So nice and consistent. And the second vault from Chimène Lemaitre of the Netherlands. Good display from her. That was her Tsukahara with the full twist, as Matsumi Kazuki produces roughly the same as he did in qualification. And we now move to a very interesting part of this parallel bars final. Ilya Kovtun of Ukraine. 15.266 was his score in qualification. The European champion. He has back-to-back wins from Cairo and Cottbus. And so much difficulty with that single rail work. He makes light of great complexity. Little overarch, but he disguised it well, moving straight into the next part of the routine. And a position, and his dismount's good. Tiny adjustment. Ilya Kovtun. 13.166 for the first vault. 12.733 is the average. 12.3 for the second for Lemaitre. So she's up from qualification. Good final from her. Again, it's a great accomplishment when a gymnast improves upon their qualification performance in their debut final. So that's one under the belt for 16-year-old Lemaitre of the Netherlands. Deepa Karmakar of India, a 30-year-old from Agartala in the far northeast of India, about a mile from the border with Bangladesh. Fifth in Cairo, didn't compete in Cottbus. Oh, it was a little wild from a form point of view from Karmakar. Interestingly, she appears to have reversed the order of vaults from qualification. And now we are waiting for her second one. So double twisting Tsukahara vault. Well, actually what she's doing here is attempting quite a considerable upgrade from qualification. So this could be most interesting. She was the fifth best in qualifying. That was with a 4.2 and a 5.2. This is a gymnast who, after all, was fourth at the Olympic Games in 2016. She returned in the middle of last year from a 21-month ban. She's been on the podium at Asian Championship level and Commonwealth Games level, and she gets 13.4. So that represents an improvement of about 8/10 of a mark from her first vault in qualification. Well, that's very, very interesting. Real celebration from Deepa Karmakar of India. We'll come back to that in a moment because Ilya Kovtun has scored 14.9. Execution not as strong as qualification. Difficulty the same. So he's down by about a third of a mark. That may well leave the door open very nicely to a gentleman who doesn't usually need the door held open for him. Zhou Jingyuan to come. Now, what about Mohamed Afifi, the Egyptian, who was third best in qualification with 14.733. He has been a World Cup medalist at home. That was in Cairo last year. He's actually from the great historic city of Alexandria. Yeah, that had a sharpness to it. Just slightly resets his position, but it's very minimal. Very nice arch at the back as he moves into his Tippelt. That's a good routine from Mohamed Afifi of Egypt. 10th in Cairo, 15th in Cottbus. Now, what about this from Karmakar? 13.716 average, so she's up by well over half a mark from qualification. A 14.033 for a big second vault. The handspring front with 1.5 twists for a 5.4 difficulty score. Natalia Escalera of Mexico. Third best in qualification, but Deepa Karmakar has just changed the game with that performance. What will we see from the 21-year-old from the north of Mexico? Just a little sideways hop on her 1.5 twisting Yurchenko vault. She was 5th in Cottbus. Didn't make the final in Cairo. So it is Karmakar in the lead. Escalera scores 13.433, an improvement of a few hundredths from qualification. Now her second vault, slightly lower difficulty, but only by a couple of tenths. And she uses the layout Tsukahara full as her second vault. 14.5 for Mohamed Afifi, just a little down in execution from qualification, but he's third at the moment. To the Colombian who won this title at the Junior World Championships in Turkey last year, Angel Barajas from Cucuta in the northeast of Colombia. The Pearl of the North, they call the city. And this youngster who started gymnastics when a neighbour saw him climbing onto the roof of the house and thought, you, my friend, need a hobby. Good effort to try and stabilise that. He's got a very difficult routine, 6.7 in qualification. His execution was way down from what it can be. But he's a very ambitious young man. He's got substance, this young man, only 17. .366 is the average for Escalera. She's in second place. 13.3 for the second vault was a good increase of over 2/10 from qualification. It is Carmacar, then Escalera, and then Pinto. 1, 2 and 3 at the halfway stage, but we still have the top 2 qualifiers to come, along with 4th place qualifier Chasha Kiselev. Angel Barajas, 14.566 in the preliminary round. Got to admire somebody who can produce that kind of difficulty at that age. 14.7. He's up from qualification. There's still room for that to grow in terms of the execution. But what he has done is go into second place. And he is somebody for whom qualification for Paris 2024 is a goal through these events. It's not the case for Matsumi and Kovtun. It is the case for Afifi. So 2 of the 4 that we've seen on the parallel bars are aspiring Olympic qualifiers. And the second half of this final will be very intriguing because we've got the last 2 Olympic champions to come. We've also got this gymnast as well from Norway, who's commemorating a first ever World Cup final today. And that's a special moment. Now, she's anything but a first time World Cup finalist. Winner of 24 World Cup honours, Chasha Kiselev, so she's just 1 away from a big milestone. There is the gymnast who has dominated thus far. Gold in Cairo and Cottbus, but somebody who had a more difficult time of things in qualification for this particular event, picking up 0.1 penalties for each vault. But somebody whose difficulty is so strong. We are almost ready to resume these finals. Carla Navas completing her last warm-up. Another of the great vaulting veterans of the world, Chasha Kiselev of Slovenia, from beautiful Ljubljana. European Championship finalist, Mediterranean Games medalist. She's had some difficult injury troubles of late. It's great to see her back. And she begins nicely. Certainly happy with that 1.5 twisting layout Yurchenko vault. The form, right as she comes into contact with the table, not enormously strong, but it gets better as the vault goes on. In qualification, she scored 13.333. What a wonderful thing it is in this final that we've got such diversity of experience among these gymnasts. 13.433, that's 1/10 better than qualification for Chasha Kiselev. We've got folk who've accumulated vast numbers of World Cup honours. We've got people making their international debuts. Continental medalists. Second vault for Chasha Kiselev. Well, she has had a really good return to World Cup final action. That is very, very pleasing to see her back. Now we go to the reigning Olympic champion on the parallel bars. Zhou Jingyuan of the People's Republic of China, the graduate of Chengdu Sport University, who won a World University Games title in Chengdu last year and was presented with the gold medal by his dad in one of the most special moments of his career. And he's had a lot of special moments because he is the top man after the last Olympics and the best in qualification. He's one of these athletes who seldom concedes any simple deductions. I mean, that beautiful straddle somersault was an example. The flourish as he executes the bavzar. Very few perform it with that degree of elan. Oh, now that did look a little off though. Just seemed to have to fight his way through the tipel, only momentarily. He's always so steady as he lands, though. Zhou Jingyuan of the People's Republic of China, much to celebrate in that display. Finesse as ever. 13.033 for the second vault for Kiselev, 13.233. The average, so she's in the bronze medal position. But now we go to a serious point in the final with the Olympic qualification race. Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria. Silver in Cairo, silver in Cottbus. The 17-year-old from Sofia, now in Baku. A little step forward as she lands the Yurchenko layout 1.5. She has done absolutely superbly this season, and all of that after 18 months out with dreadful injury troubles. She is made of incredibly stern stuff, this young gymnast. She's quite an example. .866 is an improvement by hundredths from qualification. She's so close. You have got to admire this extraordinary young athlete. There were many who thought we would never see her again. And she has defied everyone. 14.9 for Zhou Jingyuan. Now that 8.1 execution score seems to suggest that a full mark has been deducted for what is probably that tipelt issue that he had, where he seemed to come down and maybe touch the apparatus. That's probably been given as a full fall. That's remarkable. We very seldom see that from him. Now to Harald Vibjerg of Norway. Massive congratulations to him on his first World Cup final. He's the Norwegian champion. He's a very bright young man, a graduate of law and economics from Oslo Metropolitan University. Now doing his master's degree, aiming to practice law when he's finished his work as a gymnast. A little bit of a battle there. There's some nice work on display from 24-year-old Harald Vibjerg of Fredrikstad in the southeast of Norway. Now for Georgieva, look at that second vault score, 13.733 for that lovely full twisting Tsukahara vault. beautifully performed. She goes into the lead, 13.799. It's a great story. And her execution has trumped the difficulty of Deepa Karmakar, whose vaults were much harder but certainly not as comfortable looking. We go now to An Chang-ok of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. 13.566 in qualification. If she matches that here, she will only finish third. What she has got is a difficulty cushion that a lot of others do not have. Now that looked to be, execution-wise, much tidier than the preliminary round. And as it is a double twisting Yurchenko, then it's 8/10 higher than some that we've seen, and 4/10 higher than others that we've seen, with either full twist or the layout 1.5. Champion in Cairo, champion in Cottbus, and the reigning Asian Games champion to boot. .9, way better than qualification. The execution is up considerably. Now this is where she absolutely has got the potential to go into a leading position. Oh, she was very compressed as she landed, and how upright she was. Well, we'll come back to it in a moment. Harold Vibia, 12.9. So unfortunately he's down quite a bit from qualification, but he does demonstrate some nice gymnastics. It's been left open, hasn't it, because of Zo's uncharacteristic issue with the tip belt. Oleg Verniaev of Ukraine. .533 in qualification, 7th best. The Olympic champion from the edition before Tokyo, where Zo won the title. He's having a few stability issues early on. Oh, didn't he get some height there? That was lovely. Got a lot of height in the Bavsar, possibly at slight expense of some of the leg form. Just a little off here and there in some of his placement. Had to work hard to stabilise that dismount. There will be quite a few incremental execution deductions in that performance. Now we come back to An Chang-ok. She's in second, 13.783. She's down a 10th for her Cheng vault from qualification, and that means Georgieva is ahead and is looking absolutely superb now for Paris. So just to give you those numbers again, Georgieva 13.799 and 13.783. To Carla Navas of Panama, the bronze medalist in Cottbus. She produced a stunner of a second vault. Let's have a look at the first. Slightly tentative landing from the layout, Yurchenko 1.5. But my goodness, she has developed enormously as a vaulter, this 19-year-old of late. Slightly jarred landing, that's all. Pan American champion the year before last. It was in Cottbus that we saw that remarkable second vault. 13.566 for the first. She's up from qualification. She reacted with euphoria when she successfully executed her round off half on front layout with a full twist off. 5.2 difficulty. She had some issues with it in qualification. 7.566 execution score. Oh, I say, she really has made improvements as a vaulter. Carla Navas of Panama. 14.566 Oleg Vernyayev. Not on the podium. Now we go to Josimar Calvo. Josimar Calvo, 14.733 in the preliminary round. Really needs a strong display here after getting bronze in Cairo and then finishing 8th in Cottbus. He had some issues with his Bavzar in that World Cup, slipping off the edge of the bar. Oh no! Oh, that is agonising. Twinge felt in the shoulder and probably felt in the heart as well, and the hearts of many who are huge fans of this super gymnast, Josimar Calvo. Just to remind you that 3 strong performances are needed across the 4 World Cup events. And this has been a nervous-looking final, even for those who are not aiming for Olympic qualification. Josimar Calvo, the veteran Colombian. After problems in Cottbus, problems in Baku. Now then, it's 3rd place for Navas. She's done it again. You can't keep her off the podium. 13.733. That second vault, again, so well performed, just as it was in Cottbus. Probably better here. Classified results in the women's vault competition. It's gold for Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria, silver for An Chang-ok of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and bronze for Carla Navas of Panama. Virtually the same podium as we saw in Cottbus, but that reversal at the top. And for Georgieva and for Anne, it is very, very good news for their Paris prospects. But someone's triumph is another's heartbreak, and that is the brutal and sad reality of Olympic qualification. It's why we love sport for its drama. It's why it makes us feel so much. And it's why we have to always sympathise with the person who misses out. Kovtun wins. Zoe is second on the execution tiebreak. Young Barajas is in great company on the podium. What a super result for him. The victory ceremony for the women's vault competition at the Baku World Cup. For the second consecutive World Cup, Carla Navas of Panama wins the bronze medal. An Chang-ok of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea finishes second, wins the silver medal and puts herself in a great place on the road to Paris, as does she, Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria. Silver in Cairo, silver in Cottbus, gold this time in Baku. She too can start to dream of the Olympic rings. And if that is her destiny, then my goodness me, she has worked for it. And she has refused to give up. We will now hear Mila Rodino, the national anthem of Bulgaria. And there they are, the medalists in the women's vault competition. Triumph at the Baku World Cup for Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria. The victory ceremony for the men's parallel bars competition in Baku. The bronze medal to Angel Barajas of Colombia, the junior world champion on the parallel bars, starting to become a senior force. Zhou Jingyuan of the People's Republic of China, the reigning Olympic champion, taking second place on this occasion. But even when not fully at his best, he's hard to beat. Ilya Kovtun just about did it on the execution tiebreak On this occasion, European champion beats Olympic champion. The medalists in the parallel bars competition. And long may we get to look forward to more rematches between Ilya Kovtun and Zhou Jingyuan.